Sex workers of Reddit, who was the grossest customer y'all have had? I had a guy that just wanted me to spit full globs of phlegm in his mouth while laid on his back with his mouth wide open. I'm rarely grossed out, but I just can't deal with copious amounts of spit or phlegm. It took so much effort not to gag/throw up just from seeing it slide past his tonsils. On the other end of the spectrum, I had a guy who liked to just lay on the sofa while I sat on him and watched TV. Human furniture fetish is definitely my favorite type of booking. I got to the man's house and he wanted me to pour bleach on my titties. I literally just walked right out and never looked back. Ariza, there I am. Laundry sauce on my titties. Oh. Condom avoiders. Those who just plain reeked of beau, cheesy feet, dirty ass, too many cigarettes, and who were complete strangers to a toothbrush. People who were scabby and scaly with suspicious sores in places you definitely don't want to see. Lesions. The guy who loved people to fart on him and in his mouth wasn't too flash either, but you got a laugh out of it at least. Dude offered me $500 to adopt a dog and have sex with it. I very firmly declined. So I was a male stripper predominantly for bachelorette parties, but about 3 times a month I'd work the actual club to make ends meet. I was 18 and finishing up high school. One night I'm there and the manager says there's a guy willing to pay $2K for 2 hours with me. It's a straight club, but half the dancers are gay and eat that stuff up, plus with a no touching rule. It's whatever. His only stipulation was that we not turn the lights on. He didn't want to be seen. This was the early 2000s and closet cases were more reserved then. That said, I go into dance. I dance for about 20 minutes and he says something that makes my skin crawl. Tell me you're only 15. I was disgusted, but this was money I needed. I'm not proud, but I said it, though I couldn't get over the familiarity in his voice. He continued on with stuff like that, having me say I was 15 over and over, having me say I was running late for English class, etc. He just wanted me to pretend I was a little younger than I was. Then he said it. Call me Coach Bellum. Coach Bellum was my 9th grade football coach and a fervent creep who wandered into the boys and girls showers during use a few too many times and got fired the year after I had him as a coach. I went to beeline for the door as soon as he said it. There's no way he didn't recognize me after all. He picked me because he knew 14 to 15-year-old me. When I clearly got up to move, he grabbed me around my waist and just licked my stomach and said, "I can give you all the money you need. Let me have this." I broke his nose, got out, and got the bouncers in there. To my knowledge, he was the first and only person we ever banned from returning there. Apparently we didn't need to, though, as he got jailed just a couple months later for molestation of a family member. He was grimy. Way back in the day, when I was a stripper, I was giving a dance. The room was dark, and I was giving a lap dance to a usual customer. The customers were allowed to touch, as long as it wasn't any no-no zone. So I was sitting on his lap, no grinding, his hands to his side, and I randomly felt warm goo hit my back. I have no idea how I didn't notice anything sticking out, or how he managed to get off with no physical touch, but I was mortified. I got up, demanded my pay, and quickly ran to the bathroom. Had to have the bouncer escort him out. Yes, not a sex work, but a sexy worker. The room was dark and full of terrors. Was a stripper. The ones who tell you that you look like their daughter's friend etc. are pretty gross. Foot fetish dudes would come in at the end of the night, and the sweatier your feet were the better. Most girls love them though, because they give amazing foot rubs and pay you for it. Had a guy come in and lay on the floor and pay me to try to fart on his face. He was dressed like Carlton on Bobbin Street. Honestly, a lot of girls like ones like this too. They pay really well, and you don't have to really do any work. I have 2 different guys that I'll never forget. The first was one that wanted my feet to be filthy, dirty and stinky if possible. Then I had to smash one foot in his face and get him off with the other foot. The other guy wouldn't let me turn on any lights at all, and when I got undressed I touched him and found his one ball was the size of a pillow. It freaked me out so bad I told him I started my period and needed to leave pronto. There's many more, but these 2 guys always stand out. Hold up. What do you mean the size of a pillow? Edit. Alright guys, I get it. Now stop sending me pictures of people's crotches. Edit 2. My most liked comment is me asking about the size of some guy's nuts. Thank you, Reddit. Also, if anyone dares send me a dick pic, trust me, you're getting one in return. Have a nice day. Edit 3. Thank you kind stranger for my first silver, and after much thought, I've decided that I'm just gonna cross-message dick pics to y'all sending them to me. Saves me the trouble of having to click them myself. Here's http://blogs.content/wp-content/wcontent/decentral.content/upload/site/58/2014/01/1403 live a tweet_pig1. 2 hoppy copy 1.jpg. A visual for you. Phone worker here. I had a guy wanted me to put bodily excretions role play on him. I was so stumped. So I said, if you've been a bad boy I'll piss on your face. If you've been a good boy I'll shit in your mouth. Cue the minute-long groaning, grunting, and screaming the guy did with what I could only assume was the filthiest, never-ending tsunami of spunk, followed with a thank you mistress. I logged off for the day and did other things. I have no problem with kinks or fetishes, but he acted like he won the lottery. From being a stripper, this guy smelled gross. Paid for 5 minutes in a private room, everything goes well. The typical no touching private parts thing, he didn't want to pay for more time. So I was putting my clothes back on, and he just hugged me really tight, then kneeled and tried to lick my pussy. I work at a sex store. We have a guy whose kink is cleaning. So he went to the arcades, glory holes and cinema, and pulled all the used condoms out of the garbage can, and ate the cum in them. We also have a dude that likes to lick door knobs and another one who smells the used paper towels. Edit. Thanks for the gold. My job is wonderfully weird, and I have way too many stories. Edit again. Dang. Guys. Thanks for the silver. Well, I think we have a winner. Someone get the lights on the way out. Good thread everyone. A friend of mine worked in the office for an escort agency. The grossest story she told me was about a guy who seemed to have a thing for cutting women up with his long fingernails. After the first complaint he was put on a list of don't accept bookings from this guy/number, but he kept using burners and different names, and every time the girl would complain that he'd basically only want to finger them, but he had long sharp nails, and had a habit of scraping, then get agitated when asked to stop, then he'd leave. Just so gross and borderline psychopathic. Edit. Okay, not borderline. Not really a sex worker, but I stripped for a bit in college. The amount of older guys saying things to me like it'll me your ilago or Aradona would worry your little secret is safe with me while grinning terribly was always gross. I look young, so that was not very pleasant. It got worse when they would try and bark below me into actual sexual contact by saying Theo'd reveal my actual age. Fortunately I was 19 so could just tell them to go ahead and do it. It got worse when they would try and bark below me into actual sexual contact by saying Theo'd reveal my actual age. Who would they reveal it to? Yes officer, I had a minor strip for me. She did not wanna have sex, so that is why I am reporting her. I am a part-time cam girl. One day a guy paid me $30 to watch him masturbate and barking while wearing his socks on his ears. Lasted less than a minute, and it was very surprising. Not my story, but I heard it from a friend. You know how girls will spit on your dick to lube it up before blowing you? There was this one customer who told his girl for the night that it was wasteful to spit on his dick and requested that she spit in his mouth instead. For every time she spit in his mouth, he would give her $10. I once had a threesome with a couple who was really into spitting. They both took turns spitting in my mouth. They also really enjoyed putting their feet in my face and making me lick them. Go figure. Not a sex worker BTW. I'm just slutty. $10 to literally make his bed. I'm not a maid, but $10 is $10. I went through a brief stint of sleeping with men from Craigslist for money when I was going through a very rough financial time when I was 20. It was a very dark time. There were some unshowered dudes, some who smelt bad, overweight, sure. but if they were nice, their looks didn't bother me. The grossest ones were the guys who forced anal without asking, refused to wear condoms, or haggled with money. Refusing to wear a rubber is an OGO for any serious sex worker, and end of discussion. I'm a dancer at a topless strip club, no removing bottoms allowed. I had this guy coming to see me about once a week. He'd give me 100 to 150 every time he came in, but each time try to push the boundaries further and further. Eventually he kept trying to whip his dick out, and I had to tell him no. Next time he came in, while I was turned around shaking my ass in his face, he pulled his dick out, condom already on, grabbed my hips, and tried to put me onto his dick. Seriously shitty. Another one of my friends was doing a half hour with a guy and she flipped over and farted in his face. She was mortified, but he tipped her 20 at the end, so he must have enjoyed it. Literally tonight at work, a girl got fired for prostitution. She was screaming at the manager the whole time, in the middle of the room, all the customers watching her. I only gave him a hand job. It's not like I fucked him. Every single girl that goes back there fucks. Not true. What's the big deal? I was just jacking him off. She's been a dancer for a while. She claimed another girl told her it was okay and that's why she did it. Bullshit. You know the rules, and you got caught. It happens. I've seen girls sucking and fucking literally 2 feet from me. I had a girl wave and smile at me as she was jacking a dude off. In full view of the camera lol. I had a customer who liked to wear a bonnet, suck on a pacifier, and wear a dipper under his pants. He liked to call me mommy and be spanked. And he paid well for it. I had a guy that loved the smell of sweaty ass. He would always tell me when he was coming in, always near the end of the night, so I wouldn't go to the dressing room and freshen up as much as I usually would, and he would literally give me 200 just to stand in front of him, ass cheeks apart, while he smelled it. I guess the first one was the grossest, the rest of them were just weird. I have so many stories from dancing lol. My whiffer's best friend is a very successful cam girl. She was pregnant and some dude was paying her thousands to watch her take her pregnancy supplements. She made an absolute fortune when she was pregnant. He would make baby sounds to her while she did it. He would check in on her and make sure that she was hydrated and well fed. He started gifting organic foods over Amazon. I personally saw her play Jenga with her clothes on and dudes were bidding for which piece to move. I cold not believe my eyes. I still don't it. Someone paid her thousands to have dinner one night. She hired security and he paid for the security to make sure he did not touch her. It became a steady gig. Free food and thousands of dollars. She started doing the GFE thing for a while too. I make fetish clips, and I've had some odd ones. Probably the grossest are the crush people. They're usually pretty polite, at least I'll get a message asking if I like crushing things. I say nothing alive, and they thank me and leave. Just makes my skin crawl to think of hurting an animal to satisfy a sexual urge. Although one time, and of course this could have been fake, I had someone who asked, and I said no. They ended up confessing to being ashamed of it, and we chatted for a bit. I tried to help them out, and suggested therapy to help them deal with the guilt and self-hate. I still think about them sometimes, and honestly I hope the sad messages were part of a fetish I don't know about, because I don't want anyone feeling that awful about themselves. Throwaway account, because I don't want this associated with me in any way. But I've got a weirdest fetish for death, especially strangulation stuff, and I'm so deeply ashamed of it that it's actually made me contemplate suicide before. Semicolon. I love people. I make my living as a medic because I live for the days when I get to make a difference in people's life, and I spend a lot of time volunteering at charity organizations. I'm a social happy person. I've had a great life mostly free of trauma, but somewhere some wires must have crossed, because since I was 15, and maybe younger, honestly, I've been stuck with this awful fetish that's always lingering in the back of my mind whenever I stop to feel good about myself for even half a second. And I can't talk about it, because no one would ever stay friends with me after that. It keeps me from really, truly ever opening up with the people I date, the friends who I trust most in life, hell, to my own brother, who I literally would tell anything except for that. And I've been told that seeking therapy for it is a no-go, because most therapists won't touch that, or other dark shit like pedophilia with a 10-foot pole. Semicolon. Thankfully, I've never hurt anyone, or even had the desire to actually act on it, and as a medic I've seen my share of death, which, thank God, doesn't do anything for me when it's real life and real suffering. But I've jacked off to some pretty messed up shit, which to me is almost as bad as actually hurting someone. I'd say that a pedophile jacking off to child porn or drawings of child porn is reprehensible, even if they didn't hurt anyone. So I can't claim some special immunity, and sometimes I wonder if it wouldn't be safer and better to off myself, or at least isolate myself from society, just in case I become something dangerous. I'm still young, you know. Most criminals like this don't act until they get older, until it's had time to take away their humanity. I don't want to leave a legacy of suicide, but it's better than a legacy of violence. I don't want to die, and I know my family would miss me, and I love them so much, and don't want to hurt them. But, really, what are hurt feelings compared to the other possibilities for how I end up? Semicolon. Fetish shame is absolutely real. I think that a lot of the good that I try to do is really just to justify my continued existence to myself.